Hello class. In this presentation, I'm going to be going over the very basics of acceptance sampling, so you know when to accept or reject. Alright, next slide. So first of all, let's learn about acceptance sampling, which is a statistical technique to know when a person wants to accept something depending on the outcome per sample. And in engineering terms, it usually goes hand in hand with determining to accept like defects. Now I want to go over that more when I show you guys the OC curve. So let's learn about single sampling first, which is a form of acceptance sampling where we use a random sample size, set a critical point, and if it is over it, we'll reject it, and if it's not, then we'll accept it. So most of the times you want to do a double sampling in many situations, which is you just simply do another single sampling and you continue to reject or accept it, because sometimes you get pretty unlucky and get like a really bad like acceptance sample thing. Lol, that's bad. Alright, so back to the engineering. So OC curves are very important in acceptance sampling. As you see on the y-axis, we have the probability of accepting all the way up to 100 when the probability of defects is at 0. That's like the perfect thing you want, right? But as we get higher, we go lower because we don't want to accept something when there's more defects, right? So at 10%, it's no way that you're accepting it. It's unacceptable. So that's how you read an OC curve. And engineers will use this, usually for defects. Now, for the peer-reviewed article I looked at, it was about how consumers and suppliers use this. So it came up with things like materials, time it takes to like craft it, and the expense it is either for the consumer or the supplier. So material is basically the defect portion. Time is probably like you have certain ways to create something, and the more time it takes, the less you're likely to accept it. And expense, the more expensive it is, the less likely you'll accept it, right? So the advantage of acceptance sampling is that it's pretty easy, especially because we already use most of the statistical techniques that we have, and the variables are already there usually. The disadvantage is that usually people don't use it because quality control and control charts exist, and a lot of people think that's better.